Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time I'm delighted to be able to share with you this fantastic new hardback, The Art of Pulp Fiction by Ed Hulse. Now this is an absolutely beautiful book that I'm sure you're going to pore over the same as me, and I read it in just a couple of sittings. It is fantastic, it's glorious, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Now if you do fancy buying a copy of this, I've put a direct link for you to get it from Amazon in the description down below. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay, so here we have The Art of Pulp Fiction. Absolutely gorgeous hardback by Ed Hulse. Now this one's been recently published in America by IDW, and I was able to get mine off Amazon UK, and I do believe this one is available worldwide. It's got a cover price of $49.99, and in the UK it came in at just a touch under £30. Now, a little bit expensive, you might think, but when you look inside and you see the production quality, I think you'll agree it was worth every penny. So let's just dive in here and have a look. So as you can see, it is beautifully produced here. And it starts off with an introduction by Richard Lupoff. Now, Richard sadly passed away last year, and he was a real authority on vintage paperbacks, and himself wrote many books on the subject, of which I've reviewed these previously on the channel. Certainly a great author, and it starts off with the very earliest, here we are in the beginning, the very earliest sort of paperback publications. These sort of old westerns and that. Not just American, but some of the early British and European continental ones. And then we've got the very earliest US paperbacks. So around this time, it's a shame they don't really mention it, but they don't really have pulpy covers. It's the earliest Penguins came over at the very start of the Second World War, but they were very much like the British ones with just typographical covers. The American pulp paperbacks proper started with these early pocket books here. It's great to see. A lot of them were like the next step on from the pulps, in effect. Here we are. See, you know, these early like bantams could almost be, are they pulps or are they paperbacks? They're so similar. But you'll see that they really have chosen the absolute creme de la creme of vintage paperbacks, and not just that, the copies are just stunning. I mean, I'm not sure if they've been ever so slightly enhanced via something like Photoshop to get any blemishes out, but I know my friend Gary Levisi, who's got a section in this book, in a couple of bits in fact, his copies of his vintage paperbacks are so good. I can well believe they borrowed a few off him. Some of the ace doubles now. And they certainly choose their titles. There's that lovely Conan one there. Wouldn't mind that. Now here's some of the later Penguins when they were under the control of Betty and Ian Ballantyne in those early years. And then Penguin, of course, became part of Signet. There's some of the early Dell tent centres. And the Armed Services editions are once again, they got two brilliant ones there, like the Big Sleep and the Superman one. Both highly collectible and expensive books in their own right. And these are just gorgeous, aren't they? I mean, these really are absolutely works of art. So there's not masses of detail about each publisher. So you're not going to find like a definitive history of a publisher in this book, but you are going to find little sections on each and every book that is pictured, and these are filled with you know, who actually painted the cover when they were published, that sort of thing. A couple of different editions there of the Maltese Falcon. I believe this is the first one here with the hands going in, and then the slightly more risque later edition there as the market was changing, but it's like a slight sleazy side to it. Another great Avon, early Avon there, the Big Sleep, Raymond Chandler. Some more classic crime, Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie, Dorothy Sayers. And it's incredible to think that in America you were getting these fantastic editions. And back in the UK at this point, we were getting the very plain sort of penguin editions, but we were just starting to get the nice illustrated pan jackets. And but boy, did we have a lot of catching up to do in the UK to get up to this sort of standard. It's funny, a lot of these, like that one there, reminds me of a Pef cover, but it's not him. Mickey Spillane there. Eye the Jury. Of course, by this time these were being published by Corgi in the UK. Some more Dells. And we'll see lots of sort of Dells and Dell matte backs in this book. These early Avons are lovely. Here we are, here's some matte backs now. This is a series I love to collect. I've only got maybe about 50 or 60 out of the 400, 450 that have these lovely maps on the back, but I do really enjoy them. Very rarely turn up in the UK, and when they do, they're always quite poor condition. Just incredible. It says this cover is by Octavus Roy. Cover of Octavus Roy Cohen's A Bullet for My Lover, published by Popular Library. Now this little part is on classic westerns. So some of the big names there: Zane Grey, Max Brand. W.R. Burnett. It's got some early gold medal books here as well. Every publisher under the sun did their own western books, didn't they? It was a nice popular genre, which I'm happy to see is having a revival amongst collectors, as well as new fiction being published. These are just lovely, aren't they? The copies that they found for these are just amazing. Beautiful copies from various collections. There's I guess the movie, it does mention the motion picture starring John Wayne. One of I think probably my favourite western of all is The Searchers. Great, isn't it? What a great jacket, that one. George Gross, old school pulp artist who supplied innumerable covers for fiction house magazines in multiple genres. And said he had no trouble transitioning to the paperbacks. Great artwork there. So some beautiful copies here. I love that one. Tales of Chinatown. Great. I've got quite a few Sax Roma firsts, British ones, but I don't think I've got any American firsts at all. I've got most of the Fu Manchus. There's Ian Fleming there, The Live and Let Die. Quite interested in that one. Some Raphael Sabatini. That was a whole subgenre of sort of pirates and swashbuckling. Of course, in the cinema we had the Basil Rathbone was doing Holmes, and he was also doing some swashbucklers as well. Swashbuckler movies. More Sabatinis here. Captain Blood was his famous character, wasn't it? Some more here. I know Musk Hashish and Blood is an absolute classic Avon book, and once again highly collectible. You might find yourself going through this and making a little list saying, oh, I've got to track down a copy of that. But it's very much an appreciation of the covers and cover art rather than the actual content of the books. But part of being a vintage paperback collector is an appreciation of great cover art. So we'll see some sci-fi now. Another classic one there, The Earth. An Earthman on Venus. James Blish. Great stuff. I love the Ballantine sci-fi. That's got, they're not perhaps as garish as the Avon ones, but the Ballantine sci-fi stuff I think is really great. It's one of my favourites, one of the first American paperbacks of a vintage style I got because I collect Triffids related publications, and I've got a beautiful copy of that one. Absolutely fantastic. Just love it. Yeah, fantastic. So it says Burgess cover boasts crisp renderings and another unusually detailed composition. And it's true, just look at the detail in there. Even got the Bovril advertising and Schweppes in the background there because the Triffids are terrorising London. Fantastic stuff. So we'll just pause there and we'll thank my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Okay, carrying on here, there's a couple more classic Alfred Bester and Robert Heinlein. Some great stuff here early, Arthur C. Clarke, these Ballantine ones. Yeah, I just got a soft spot for those for sure. That's one I haven't got. It's a Fahrenheit 451. I got those other two there. Yeah, got those. That's a great one, isn't it? That Bantam. Donovan's Brain. Oh, it's a classic. Absolute classic. And another classic iRobot. We saw one of those sell fairly recently. That's the first stainless steel rap book from Harry Harrison. Picked up one of those lately. It wasn't expensive. That was just a few pounds I got that one for. Really pleased with that. And these come some of the sort of later ace doubles for the sci-fi ones. This one I have got, and that Philip K. Dick. I think they had big print runs those because they are still around, but they're not, they are fantastic books. And a little pyramid up there. Space Prison. Terror Tales and Fantasy Worlds. So these are sort of stories with a bit of a horror. Beautiful edition of Dracula. That's the first pocket edition of it. Some real classics here, the Perma book of ghost stories. Ballantine collected chillers. This is like anthologies, of which there were many. Some Tolkien's. There's the Bart House pair of the 2 HP Lovecraft books that they did. Interesting publisher, Bart House. Once again, if I lived in the States, I'd collect that publisher with that show. There's only about 100 to get. Some Ballantine, again, it's a comic book, that one, the Tales from the Crypt comic books. Now this is where they look at some of the sort of the juvenile delinquent and drug related paperbacks. The Beatnik, so that's Jack Kerouac, one of the Beat generation. The classic junkie, of course, William Lee, William Irish. Nice early Chester Himes, that's one I haven't got actually, If He Hollers Let Him Go. Got some of his other ones. More Kerouacs there. It's lovely, isn't it? They've got the original artwork there to that. Bad Girls, it's a Crest title. More sort of juvenile delinquent titles, JDs. Then we got sort of sexual repression, homosexuality and lesbianism alongside drug use. That was the cover to the third 87th Precinct Ed McBain, which was called The Pusher. Absolutely classic jacket there. Charles Binger was the original artist, and that's the original artwork. Look at him holding the syringe there, the policeman. Detective rather. Fantastic stuff. That's another one, I've never seen that cover before. H is for heroin. Wowee. That's pretty hard hitting, isn't it? And this is looking at the sort of, well, it says the civil rights movement and a sort of black interest related titles. More gangs now. The James Dean crowd. And this is slightly more modern now, sort of tail end 60s titles. Tarzan and Doc Savage. Lots of great Tarzan, Edgar Rice Burroughs titles here. Here's the Doc Savage stuff, and a bronze. Spider, these are sort of Lancer books. Shadow, yeah. Into Conan, so the early Conan novels. Sex on the Sleazy Side. Big part of vintage paperbacks was the sleaze market. As always, sex sells. Here's a few selected gems. The Sultans of Sleaze. So, Harry Whittington, quite a collectible author. It's one of his early ones there, Backwoods Tramp. Classic books now. Louis L'Amour, Jim Thompson, David Goddis, or Goodis, I should say. Yeah, all of these are just super cool and collectible titles. Jim Thompson, Recall, another beautiful cover by for the Jim Thompson book there. Fantastic, look at that. Under his Russell Gray pseudonym, former journalist Bruno Fisher wrote some of the most stomach-churning horror stories ever to appear in pulp magazines. This is the painting for The Lady Kills in 1951. Brilliant, eh? So again, you can just see the book screams quality. Some beautiful paper, fantastically produced, and it's so good. This is definitely one you want to put on your Christmas list, and if not, just go out and get one for yourself straight away. Another classic popular library. I always call it the headlights cover, but affectionately known as the nipple cover. And there we are, and then it's like a little look now. This is the very end of paperback since 1970. With the index. There you are, how incredible is that? It tells you where all the collections have come from, and a little bit about the other contributors there. Absolutely fantastic. I managed to get through mine in like one sitting. I just absolutely loved it, but I thought you'd enjoy seeing it because it's such a beautiful book and the best book of its kind that's come out in a few years. So definitely one that I would wholeheartedly recommend. So thank you very much for watching today. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.